The streak is over. The longest winless drought in Jeff Gordon's career has ended after 66 races. A four-time champ, shut out for almost 2 seasons, but with 9 laps to go, Jeff said, get out of the way, took the lead, and never looked back. That makes 83 career wins for this champion. You have to go all the way back to April of 2009 to find the last one at Texas. And if you want to see a happy race car driver, stay with us here on NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco. Welcome, everyone, to the Phoenix International Raceway. Such a long time for a champion who is used to winning. Jeff Gordon makes it back to victory lane after a long absence, and boy was this a popular victory here at the Phoenix International Raceway. Welcome everyone to NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco. He is race car driver Kenny Wallace. He is Kyle Petty, and behind us is one of the happiest guys ever to have a monkey off his back, just a weight lifted off his shoulders.
And you got to go back to the race shop. It's that man right there, Mr. H. They call him Rick Hendrick. Rick Hendrick in the wintertime said, guys, we're going to make massive crew chief changes. New crew chief Alan Gustafson gets that man right there, Jeff Gordon, in victory lane, only 2 races into the season.
It's hard to believe you make a change like that and it pays off this quick.
Here's what's cool about this victory at this racetrack and what has happened over the last 4 times here at this track. The winner has snapped a huge long winless streak. The last time we raced here, it was Carl Edwards, snapped a long winless streak. The time before that, Ryan Newman, his longest winless streak. And then when you go to the race before that, it was crew chief Alan Gustafson who got Mark Martin back to winner's circle after a long absence.
I think this racetrack is historical. It brings back these drivers' short track driving roots.
Here he comes.
As you see, 4-time champion Jeff Gordon get out. You go back to Alan Twickie. He won his very first Cup race here. New sponsor and all for Jeff Gordon. That's an awesome job today.
Not just the drive to end hunger, but also the drive to end the longest winless streak in this champion's career. Crew chief Alan Gustafson definitely needs to take a bow on this one because Jeff not only won this race, Kyle, but he was dominant as well, led the most laps.
Early on, they didn't have the greatest qualifying, and where you see Mark Martin come in to congratulate him right there, and there's Rick, you know, and everything. But he didn't have a great qualifying effort, and he said, but we felt like our car was pretty good to race. This is a tough place to pass on, and early on, he showed that he was going to be able to cut his way through the pack.
With 9 laps to go, he was chasing down Kyle Busch, who was going for another one of those historic weekend sweeps. But Jeff Gordon was not to be denied today. He had a very, very strong race car. Little bit of bump there, Kenny. Classic short track battle.
Yeah, that was Jeff Gordon wanting to win. Drove in a little deep, got a little bit loose, but hey, that's the way you can do it when you're fighting for the win.
And Kyle, this was a classic short track shootout in the Old West between 2 of the best.
And it amazes me. We come to this racetrack, and you think it's a mile racetrack, but it races like a short track. We talked about it all day long, about it being a driver's track.
How about this? Jeff Gordon now ties Cale Yarborough for 5th on the all-time race winners list. And look what he has to do to get up into that 3rd spot. Couple more victories will put him up with the greatest.
And this tells you just how good Jeff Gordon is. I mean, he's a 4-time champion. He's won a lot of races. Kyle, pretty soon, looks like he might move into 3rd place.
Really fast if he keeps this momentum up. You know, he should have won 2 or 3 races last year. We talked about it. He had an opportunity early in the year, couldn't capitalize on it, and then just got frustrated. This year with the changes they've made, there's Jimmy Johnson sitting in there, but this year with the changes he's made, he's come out and he's been rejuvenated. He run good at Daytona the whole time he was there.
And if you look at Jeff Gordon, he still has a lot of racing left in him. Anybody that says Jeff Gordon is one of the old guys, and he says himself, he says, hey, I'm one of the veterans around here, but the guy still has a lot of driving left to go.
Yeah, but, you know, when you get older, you also get smarter. You don't have to be brave to drive one of these race cars. It's all about getting your car to handle. That man right there, Mr. Rick Hendrick, he is the catalyst. He is the team decider. He is the owner. And he's one of the reasons I believe Jeff Gordon is back in victory lane after a 66-race drought.
And, Kenny, I think you got that exactly right. One big reason why Jeff Gordon is back. When we come back, we will show you exactly how Jeff Gordon got it done today at Phoenix and also talk to the guys involved. Congratulations from 5-time. We'll be back with 4-time in a moment.
NASCAR Victory Lane is fueled by Sunoco, the official fuel of NASCAR. Put the fuel of NASCAR in your car. Brought to you in part by Allstate. Dollar for dollar, nobody protects riders like Allstate. Are you in good hands? And by Cheerios, 100% natural whole grain oats in 1 single gram of sugar.
Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Victory Lane on Speed, fueled by Sunoco. The drought is over. Jeff Gordon is back in Victory Lane after a 66-race absence, and that is a long time for a 4-time champion. Now, race number 2 of the season brought us out to Phoenix a little bit earlier than we're used to. The second race of the season usually has been in California over the past couple of years, but has brought us to Phoenix this time for the Subway Fresh Fit 500 from Avondale, Arizona. Carl Edwards, last winner at this racetrack, had the pole position with record-setting speed, and he was joined on the front row by Kurt Busch. And right away, Kenny, it looked like we're going to have a dogfight here.
Well, when you have Kurt Busch lined up on the outside of you, you're hardly going to get a start. Those Busch boys, they really are good on new tires. Here we go. 11, rattling the cages, Dale Earnhardt would say, of the 22, and gets by him. The 22 starts to fade a little bit of Kurt Busch.
And the 11 car, Denny Hamlin, we know how he ran here the last race. So I think early on everybody thought, okay, Denny's going to pick up where he left off.
Only took 11 laps for Denny Hamlin to get into the top 10. And here we go, 3-wide racing. Not a lot of real estate here, guys, but they used every bit.
That's why everybody likes this racetrack. Look at that. 3-wide, it's clean, everybody goes on. It's a beautiful racing facility.
Jimmy Johnson started back in the pack, but joined the party at lap number 31. Watch Trevor Bayne, your Daytona 500 champion, and he is out early.
I hate to say it, Kyle, it looks like he pulled up too quick.
Yeah, that almost appears to be, and he is a rookie, so let's be clear, a rookie mistake.
Now,
oh, you heard how hard a hit it was.
Yes, this could have been a spotter saying clear, and he wasn't clear. But see that seat right there? It's hard to see next to you, but you've got to have your mirrors adjusted right. Just a mistake, and what a bummer, and here's the big one.
Caution number 4 for your pole sitter, number 99, Carl Edwards, gets bumped around a little bit, and we see a lot of cars getting taken out in this one, namely Kevin Harvick. But you know what? Don't count Kevin Harvick out anytime soon. He would battle his way back.
No, but you got to count Carl Edwards out, Kyle. Man, look at his crew chief.
Yeah, he hit that ripple strip and drove across it right up under the oil pan. You see, here he is, and the 18 car turns left, and it's like the 18 car, like Kyle did not know where he was, but you see he straddles that ripple strip. That thing sits up about 10 or 12 inches high. That thing gets up in the air, it starts tearing stuff off, and then you saw the accident happen for those guys trying to avoid him.
And it was huge for Jeff Gordon to avoid that one. This one is yellow flag number 5, a big wreck taking place on the backstretch. Brian Vickers gets sideways, Jamie McMurray is involved, and Clint Boyer ends up going to the garage. 13 cars in all involved.
No, race fans, this is not the big one at Daytona or Talladega. You're looking at your screen. That is the back straightaway here at Phoenix. Okay, Brian Vickers has a left rear flat. He cannot control his car, and it's just total chaos, Kyle.
Yeah, but Brian and somebody had gotten together, and honestly, I was getting something to eat at this point in time. They got together, and this accident happened with guys trying to avoid the spin in 83.
Great job of getting through there without any contact.
Got to hold. Second up, come on, low. Watch me, both sides, come on. Go low. Good job.
Another look here as Dale Earnhardt Jr. made it through. Remember last week he had a little bit of trouble communicating with his spotter and avoiding a wreck, but this time did a masterful job, both spotter and driver.
We've looked at this replay 20 times. What happened is Matt Kenseth just gets a little loose, Kyle, but what happens is it aligns on Brian Vickers' left rear tire. Flattens Brian Vickers' left rear tire.
And Kenny, and you drove this racetrack, had a great run yesterday, finished 10th. The racetrack gets very narrow because everybody goes to the inside right there, and nobody had any place to go once the first car was spun.
Now it has been a little while since we've seen Tony Stewart in victory lane, but here looked like he might be the one to beat today as he passes his teammate and the winner of this race last year, Ryan Newman.
Tony's an incredible driver here at Phoenix. He's had a lot of success back in the USAC days, all types of different cars. I would say Tony Stewart knows every nook and cranny of this racetrack.
So the number 6 car being piloted by David Reagan, lap number 127, blows a tire, and he is into the wall hard. This is a hard hit.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest hits I've seen in a long, long time because that thing pops at just the wrong time. Goodyear thought that a bead had blown out because of the heat in the brakes, and we heard people complain all day long about the heat, but that thing hit a ton. You see this thing, it gets up, it comes back across. I mean, he's just riding right here.
And you know, the next thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a soft wall right there. That's a shame there was not one there, and he got banged up pretty good.
6 champions between these two, 6 championships is what I'm trying to say between these two drivers as they battle up front. And it looked like Jeff Gordon was definitely the class of the field at this point, and he was zeroing in on leading the most laps.
I think at this point in time, Tony had led, the 24 had led. We'd had these guys who were, you look at Tony and the 24 and Kyle Busch, these guys all run in the top 5, so you begin to sort out, and you knew your winner was going to come unless something drastic happened from those 4 or 5 cars.
Here's another thing to think about this race. This is the last time we're going to see this pavement and this configuration at this racetrack because it's been 20 years since this surface has been down. They're going to tear it up and reconfigure it, but this definitely is, and we've been seeing throughout the first half of the highlights, that it's a definite driver's racetrack.
Well, looky here, race fans, right here live on NASCAR Victory Lane. Kyle, they're not messing around. They're tearing it up now.
I'm going to tell you what, I bet Jeff Burton wished he had that piece of Caterpillar equipment out there today while he's driving. But they are tearing it up now, and it's a big deal when you tear up a racetrack, and especially a racetrack this historic. They're talking about tearing it up, repaving it, and doing some reconfiguration to it, putting a little bank in it, down in turn 1, maybe a little bit down in 3 and 4, but changing the dog leg in the back. So many great drivers have run here. We were talking Kenny Schrader has won more races here than probably anybody else in all the series that he's run here. So it's a very historic track. So when you start tearing it up, it is a big deal, and especially on the reconfiguration.
I'm rooting for Kenny Schrader to get a grandstand named after him here.
He should. And they should name one after Kenny Wallace as well, because he's going to go out there and drive that bulldozer, get behind that steam shovel and rip that thing up, right?
I would love to do it here. Let's go.
Try to do some damage, but we'll see how much more damage we can do as we take a quick break here on NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco. When we come back, the second half of the highlights will show you exactly how Jeff Gordon got it done.
Diesel.com.
Back it up, back it up, back it up. Right in the middle of it, guys, right in the middle of it. Hold on to it here. Just behind. Caution's out, caution's out.
Welcome back, race fans, to NASCAR Victory Lane on speed, fueled by Sunoco. There you see the 4-time champion and his big Cactus Trophy getting ready to celebrate a long winless streak coming to an end. Let's pick it back up, second half of the highlights. 312 laps, 500 kilometers made up this race today. And now we're going to check out how Jeff Gordon was getting it done. It's the drive to end hunger, but also the drive to end a winless streak. And boy, he was on the rails.
And I think one of his reasons that he won today, he could go down into the corner, really go in fast, and he could turn the front end and really get in the gas with a lot more forward. But look at there, Kyle. It comes off like just straight up off the corner with full throttle.
Yeah, he runs straight up off 4 all day long, and that's important to get up off of 4 good. But what sets up the exit of 4 is the center of 3 and 4 down there. And as you say, Kenny, he rolled through perfect.
So there we see Joey Logano in the number 20 Home Depot Toyota. He did not start off well very early in the race. He had a rocker arm problem or a valve problem, something of that nature, but then it eventually gave way because he was running out there underpowered. But the significant part of this caution flag comes from the number 48 team. Guys, this was not the kind of pit stop they were looking for.
Because this guy wins so many races and is so famous, we overdiagnosed. They have a right front problem. He's leading the race, running in the top 2, and this happens. Drops him all the way back to 8th or 9th. Kyle again.
Yeah, I don't know if we overdiagnosed, but all we heard all winter was how the 48 had worked on a pit crew. They had a first string and a second string. On that stop, they should have gone to the third string. Because I'm going to tell you something. They dropped the ball again for this team, and you can see Chad's disgust with it.
He is not impressed, but let's go back to the restart now and check out. There you got Kyle Busch up front, but also Jeff Gordon gets a fantastic restart.
And I really think Jeff Gordon's rear shocks, I don't want to get too technical, but he had so much forward bite, meaning that he never spun the tires. He could really get in the gas good. And on the restart, boom, there he goes.
Let's take a little look at a little close call here for the number 5 of Mark Martin, a very recent winner here. Paul Menard is on the outside of Mark. Mark gets a little loose up into Paul, but they both, were not too worse for the wear after that.
Mark's car had already had some damage, and he pushes up towards Paul, and when he tries to turn it, He gets into him, and the thing gets sideways, and Mark drives the wheels off that thing to get it straight. I'm telling you what, he may be 50-some years old, but he's got the reactions of Trevor Bayne.
And Mark, that's some of that back road Arkansas driving there.
Let's listen to some pit stop strategy.
Middle back stretch, bring it to us, 4,800 at the line.
30 to go. Kyle Busch comes in first. Remember, fans, he's trying to sweep the weekend. He's won the Camping World Truck Series race already in the Nationwide Series race. Now he's going for the Cup race. And, Kenny, he had a pretty darn good shot.
Because Kyle Busch is the very first one on pit road, this means he's going to have fresher tires. Here Jeff Gordon comes in. He comes in leading the race. And don't you know Jeff Gordon is holding his breath saying, please don't mess this up.
Again, with about 30 laps to go, Jimmy Johnson's in, and with only 14 cars on the lead lap at this time, those guys were going to get it back out there and not have too much work to do to get back up front.
No, you know, these guys, they pitted about a lap after the 18. So the 18, they didn't want to lose. But here's the path for the lead. Jeff was rolling so good through 3 and 4. He got position, just as Kenny said. Drives straight up off the corner. As you see him get down in this first corner, he just drives it down in there. Thing gets a little bit loose. He washes up the racetrack. And I'm going to tell you, Kyle gave him plenty of room. And from there, it was Jeff Gordon.
Alan Gustafson says, man, that's my driver. Look at what he just did. And we're going to show you another look at what he did as he gets on the back of Kyle Busch just enough to get him loosened up and then takes the low side around.
And it's this right here that can win him the race. Wide open up off the corner, doesn't spin a tire, and that will win you races.
The streak is over at 66. What a relief for Jeff Gordon, and what a great way to start the season for new crew chief Alan Gustafson. Jeff Gordon stayed out there, got out of the car, and waved to the crowd for a long time because that was a long time coming. Let's take a look at the finish of the Subway Fresh Fit 500 here at Phoenix. It's Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch, and Jimmy Johnson. Kevin Harvick bounces back in a big way from a disappointing Daytona, and the winner of this race last season was in 5th place, Ryan Newman.
I tell you, A.J. Allmendinger, good run.
Good solid run. He had an 11th place at Daytona. Here he is 9th here. Good solid. And Earnhardt Jr. worked his way back and had a top 10.
Not a bad finish at all for Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth, or Mark Martin. Martin Truex Jr. in the 14th spot. Keselowski, Ambrose, and Menard up in the top 20 as well, along with Casey Mears, who missed the Daytona 500 and came back for a top 20 finish. Labonte, Gilliland, Bill Elliott, and Skinner was in the 32. Tony Raines was in the 25th spot, and then it was Burton, Boyer, Edwards, David Rudiman, and Brian Vickers. Had a little trouble early on in the race and ended up finishing in the 30th spot.
And now we get down to everybody that was involved in the big wrecks. Of course, Andy Lally, Joey Logano blew a motor, Reagan Smith, and Kyle, basically everybody was in the wreck.
Yeah, when you look at it, I think 7 out of the top 10 finishers at Daytona were in this wreck and got some damage from that. So the points are going to shake up just a little bit.
What a humbling sport this is. Daytona 500 winner 1 week, 40th place the second week for Trevor Bayne, but nonetheless, I'm sure he is still smiling from ear to ear. Let's take a look at the points as they get a little bit more clear here, because Jeff Gordon's the first guy to win this year in NASCAR any of the top 3 series and actually get driver's points for the win, which is pretty cool about the new scoring system and the new rules. Kurt Busch is now just 3 points back. You guys want to know the last time at a point in the season that two brothers were, two members of the same family were going 1 and 2 in points?
When was it?
Got to go back to Davey and Bobby Allison.
That's pretty cool.
That's
way
right.
back. And Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch are now leading.
And here's what I like about this point system. You look at this point system, we've got 3 guys tied for 7th right there. We got 2 guys tied for 5th. We got 2 guys tied for 3rd. And because we're only going 1 at a time, we're going to see these type of ties through the top 25 or 30 all year long.
And the tiebreaker is going to be finishing positions.
All 4 manufacturers in the top 4 in points, and we got Jeff Gordon coming your way next, here for the 4-time champion about breaking the winless streak. Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Victory Lane on Speed, fueled by Sunoco. You got to go all the way back to Texas in April 2009, 66 races to find the last time that this number 24 car was being rolled out as a winner. But after 312 hard laps, leading the most, Jeff Gordon takes the checkered flag. And Jeff, welcome back to Victory Lane.
Woo! Yay!
A great feeling.
Oh, my gosh, it's an amazing feeling. It feels so good. This feeling's not going to go away for a while. Well, until we get to Vegas, I guess. But, man, I am so excited. Excited because I just, so many things happened over the offseason, a lot of changes. But just looking at all the hard work that went into those changes and some of the testing that we did and just picking Alan's brain on things and his way of doing things. gosh, I'm just so excited to have a race car like that, and so many different emotions throughout the day. I mean, we started midfield, and I could tell the car was good, but some things happened around me. We got shoved up in the wall, and I thought our day was done. And I knew we had a good car, and I was like, man, I can't believe. Yeah, you know, the 99 obviously got wrecked, and I didn't know how bad it was. I went to the outside, and man, this car just went straight. Luckily, I got it slowed down decent, but it hit pretty hard.
Yeah, it did.
But it hit square, and because I thought we were done, and when they told me, well, you know, we got the fenders pulled out, I think you're going to be fine. I was like, yeah, right. You know how they tell you.
Oh, yeah.
And then we took off, and the thing was really good. And the crazy thing, and I told Alan this just a minute ago, so we came in, we got repairs, we got 4 tires, we're in the back, and then they wreck again, and then everybody came down pit road, and Alan's like, stay out. And we were like 4th. I'm like,
It was your day.
how did that happen? And then we took off and like drove up and took the lead. I was like, you got to be kidding me. It was that was the kind of day that we had. It was unbelievable.
Jeff, you touched on it at the start, saying so many changes. I kind of feel that Rick Hendrick, your car owner, had a lot to do with this. He's the one that said, okay, I'm going to get Jeff a new crew chief. He's a 4-time champion. And boom, the second race of the year, it pays off. Your car had so much forward bite, you didn't spin a tire off the corner all day.
Yeah, it did. You're right. It had great forward bite, and that's where we were really fast. And you know, it's been a while since I've felt the car that could do that. And actually, the last time I won here when we were racing with Stewart, that was when we had a car like that. And so, you know, it was just amazing to feel it. You know, Rick Hendrick makes a lot of different decisions and calls, and people don't look at Rick a lot of times as being that racer, but he is, and he understands people, and he loves the sport. He loves his organization, and I think he really saw some lateral moves that could help the whole organization. And I think if you look at, I think Junior was 10th, and
yay,
with us with the win, and the 48 still up there. And I'm not sure, you know, what happened with the 5, but they were good at times. So, you know, I think it was obviously I think it's a great move. but you know, it's fun, you know, seeing the spark back.
Yeah, talking about the spark, you got out of the car, you spent more time out there than I think I've ever seen you spend celebrating a victory lane, or celebrating your victory. It's been 60-some-odd races. Explain to us, you were this close last year at this very racetrack. How sweet is it to be back here at this racetrack after last year? After that, explain to people what that emotion is to go that long when you're a champion like that.
I got to tell you, you know, I know we've won a lot of races over the years, but there's so many expectations when you win that many races, and when you haven't won, like, you know, in the last 2 years like we have, you know, you just don't know when that next one is going to happen or if it's going to happen. So, you know, I tell you, with when I passed Kyle and we started pulling away, I mean, I was just like, you know, please, everything, you know.
No cautions.
No caution. And those were the kinds of things that happened to us the last couple of years. Even when we had ourselves in position to win, it was either I made a mistake on a restart or we'd have a caution come out like at Martinsville.
Oh.
And it just wasn't our time, you know, and today was our time. And you know, you got to work hard, but you got to have some things go your way. And we did. And it just felt amazing. You know, I stink at burnout, so I did what I could. I think I broke the engine because I couldn't get to start, so finally I just decided to get out of the car. But when I got out of the car and saw the reaction of the crowd, that right there sealed it for me of how cool it is to race in this series and to win races. I mean, to see them standing up, cheering, you know, it was just the coolest feeling, and man, I'm going to remember this win for a long, long time.
Good for you. You're
Good, man.
happy.
And
I
you
am.
should.
Good.
Jeff,
Yes.
congratulations. Jeff,
Thank
can
you,
you
guys.
sign our Sunoco checkered flag
Absolutely.
for us? Congratulations on a great team win, and we hope to see you back here a lot.
Well, we have race cars like we did today, and a race team like that, we will. Thank you.
83 wins ties Jeff with Cale Yarborough on the all-time list. And each week here on NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco, one lucky fan will receive the Sunoco checkered flag autographed by the winner of the race. Enter online at speed.com, keyword Sunoco, to win the flag that Jeff Gordon just signed. NASCAR Victory Lane is fueled by Sunoco, and Alan Gustafson's coming up next. Welcome Welcome back to the desert, everyone. A NASCAR victory lane on speed, fueled by Sunoco. Only a handful of crew chiefs can say they won with driver Jeff Gordon. Now you can add Alan Gustafson's name, along with Steve Letarte, Robbie Loomis, Brian Weitzel, and Ray Evernham. Now you can also put a pretty impressive list together of drivers who have won with Alan Gustafson, who joins us now. Alan, that's Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch, Mark Martin. And two things about Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon, or one thing about those guys, is you ended long winless streaks for those drivers at this track. Right at this track.
Actually,
nicely done.
We won with Kyle here, too. I've won with all three of them here. So this is a special place. They're going to tear it up on me. You know, it's like the one time you get a track
they should at least let you get a hunk.
They're tearing it up on me, man. It's like this place is working. Let's leave it alone.
But, Alan, this has to be a great feeling for you. After the big swap, it was actually more like a driver swap than a crew chief swap that everybody was calling it. But you got paired up with a guy who had extreme driving talent. I'm sure you thought to yourself, okay, here's the good news. My driver's Jeff Gordon. Here's the bad news. My driver's Jeff Gordon. I got to get it done.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, obviously, Jeff's, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, has ever driven these cars. And he's got a lot of fans who support him, and there's a lot of expectations that are high. But I told my wife, we were sitting down talking about it when it happened, I said, this is what I've worked for. This is what I've worked my whole life for, is a good opportunity with a driver like Jeff Gordon. And I've embraced it. I love it. He's a great guy. And we just went to work. You know, real proud of all the guys in the shop and doing the work to get this done.
We talk about, you know, and everybody talks about the Hendrick organization and how much information sharing there was. And with the crew chief swap, to continue that, was it difficult, or were you already knew Jeff? You were already in conversation. So does that make that transition easier?
I think it does. You know, I've known him for 12 years that I've worked here, so I've been around him. I've read his notes. I told him there's two things I read: Jeff Gordon notes and Lightning McQueen books to my little 4-year-old kid. So
that's great.
That's about it. But I've read all of his stuff for year after year after year, so I knew him. I know his tendencies. That does help, but I've learned, even in 2 races, there's still a lot of stuff that you've got to work through. There's a lot of things that we haven't done together, and you got to get used to each other, and you kind of build that rapport. And ultimately, I think it cost us at Daytona a little bit because we were in the back. We got shuffled back, and I would have normally said, hey, man, just ride. And I didn't do that because I wasn't used to that relationship, and I didn't give him the information he needed. So, you know, you learn little things like that.
Alan, your job is to run that team and make that car handle to the best of your ability. Today, your car did something that no other car did. It came off the corner with incredible forward bite. Your car looked different than everybody's. So just tell us, what did you do?
If you can.
I can tell you right now, I've got it.
You can tell us they're tearing up the racetrack. They're not coming back out.
Watch his forward bite.
That's a pretty picture there, isn't it? I've got to give a lot of credit to my guys. Jeff complained extremely bad about the drive-off in our car from the get-go on Friday, and that's something that we worked on in the race engineers, my 3 race engineers, Tom, and Lee. I said, man, guys, we got to fix it. So we went to work on it, worked hard late night on Friday, and we got it better on Saturday, and we got it real good on Sunday.
Hey, Alan, help us here, if you will, with our Hamburger Helper, most helpful pit crew segment of the show. And your pit crew was certainly helpful after this little incident on the racetrack as Carl Edwards got up into Jeff with nowhere to go. But still, this car was pretty much bulletproof, came in and had minimal damage.
Yeah, that was a freak deal, and you know, we go to fix it. I can't see it, obviously. I've got to communicate with the guys, and they said, man, it's good. It hit square enough where it didn't hurt too much. They did a great job getting the right front fender out. They got a great job getting the right rear quarter panel out. And, you know, we weren't sure after that. And the steering wheel was straight, and we said, okay, let's see what we got. But it didn't hurt it at all, so it's good news.
Yeah, obviously it didn't.
Yeah, it might be better.
Maybe it helped it out a little bit. Alan, want to say congratulations once again on a great team effort and a great start to the season for you guys.
Thanks, guys. It's great. I got to thank all our supporters, everybody at the shop, all the guys at the 524 shop. They're the ones that made this happen. We've worked them hard in the offseason and got it done, so congratulations, guys.
Way to go, Alan, and keep up the good work. A win right off the bat here for the 24 team. Now we're going to send it up to Charlotte, and the Speed Center with Adam Alexander to get you up to date on the latest from the world of motorsports. Wednesday on an all-new Car Warriors episode, the All-Stars take on a team of lowrider specialists, but lack of sleep brings the All-Stars to the brink of disaster. This is one episode you can't miss. Car Warriors Wednesday at 9 Eastern time.
Love that
on
show.
Speed. It's awesome because they're a lot like us. Lack of sleep makes us like fight with each other.
Car Wars is so intense. I mean, I'm just riveted to the screen. I'm like, my God, look at these guys going at it.
It's like being locked in a room with Kenny Wallace for 72 hours.
It's a good thing.
Love it.
You go nuts. Kyle Busch had another chance at history. He's the only driver ever to sweep all three of NASCAR's three top series in one weekend. He did it last year at Bristol, winning the Camping World Truck Series Nationwide and Sprint Cup races. After dominating the first two of the weekend, he had a shot at winning this one and came up just one position short. Let's go to Bob Dillner.
Kyle Busch is somebody that definitely doesn't like to finish second. I heard you come on the radio and said, "I'm sorry, guys." Why were you apologizing?
Well, I mean, the first part of the race, we just got behind, and we were getting bounced around like a ping pong ball, and I got messed up and got crossed up there and hit Carl and ruined his day completely. So I hate that happened, especially after the way we raced each other yesterday. But, with that aside, the guys gave me a great combos Camry today. It just come up a little bit short. We kept trying to make adjustments to it to get it better, and we just couldn't get it quite the way that I needed it to keep up the 24 to hold him behind me. I thought when I got out that far front, I'd be able to hold him off, but he was just so strong, and we couldn't hold him back. So, good to see those guys in victory lane. Those are my 05 guys. So, if anything's good about today, I guess that's kind of cool.
A little bump and run there, but that was kind of just incidental.
He hadn't won in a couple of years, so I'll give him that.
Now, here's one thing about Kyle Busch. No matter what happens over the course of a race, whether it's a truck race, nationwide, or cup race, no matter what happens, don't ever write him off. Like he said, he got bounced around like a ping pong ball, and then he was able to bounce right back and still contend for the win. He almost got it.
To me, it's no debate just how good Kyle Busch is. He's one of the greatest of all time. And to win one cup race, I mean, let's look at Jeff Gordon. He hasn't won in 66 races. To win one of these things is pretty awesome, Kyle. I mean, he wins in everything he gets in.
I go back to Daytona. Look how bad his car was torn up at Daytona, and he just kept driving. Like he said, I got bounced off things. I was into people. I got into Carl. That was a nice statement for me to hear him say, I got in trouble. I messed up Carl's day. I apologize for that. But he doesn't like to run second. We saw him interviewed after the nationwide race and after the truck race, and that's Kyle Busch, and that's who Kyle Busch wants to be. Today he was a little subdued.
And let me remind everybody, Kyle Busch is only 26 years old with, 18 cup wins? I mean, he's going to win a lot of races.
There's a long, bright future and many, many more chances probably for Kyle Busch to do that weekend three-peat once again. Came up just a little bit short this weekend. Want to remind you once again, got another great episode of The 10 coming your way. It is Wednesday night, and you must strap in for a must-see all-new episode of The 10. It doesn't get any crazier than this. Well, maybe it does if Kenny Wallace is involved. The 10 most outrageous moments in NASCAR history. The 10, Wednesday night at 8 Eastern, only on Speed.
Right to the back bumper, trying to rattle Kyle Busch. Well, it'll get you a little bit loose and allow you to do that right there. Get a little run, and he's gone. Jeff Gordon wins at Phoenix.
Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco. Going into today's race, Jimmy Johnson was the leader among all drivers, not just active drivers, with 4 victories here at Phoenix. After a third-place finish, he said it was a great day for Hendrick Motorsports all around. Let's go back to Bob.
Jimmy Johnson strong late in the race. Why didn't we see you up front there battling with your teammate late in that race, Jimmy?
Well, I mean, we had a great day today. I'd say for Hendrick Motorsports as a whole, when we unloaded, we were learning some new stuff and just didn't have it where we needed it. And to look at where all 4 cars were in Friday's practice to where we finished in the runs that we had today says a lot. So I feel very good about the tracks coming and races in front of us. But at the end, I had a little trouble getting through on Tony, and I wasn't as good as Jeff in the 18 on new tires. He's a little too loose. And those guys, got out there and checked out, and I was just kind of there riding in 3rd, 4th, racing with the 14 and 29. But great day for the Cobalt Tools Impala, and we needed to leave here with some points. The way this new point structure is, we didn't want to have another bad day. And I was in the eye of the storm, all those big wrecks on the backstretch. I was right in the middle of it. Just very lucky to not get caught up in it.
Good run here today, and you had a good race car. Track position very key here. How much that one slow pit stop hurt you?
You know, it wasn't good. We kind of got back to where we were. I don't think it really affected the end result all that much. I wish that we had a shot at racing with those guys for the win. But our car, we could pass all day long. It stayed turning really strong all day long. And I was in the back a lot and had to work my way forward. And didn't pass cars with ease, but was able to get it done. And just proud of the effort all day.
Jimmy Johnson with a big rebound after Daytona.
Now, guys, if you think Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson are happy with 5 championships in a row, think again. These guys are digging for number 6. And also, they're not going to give up. Remember this time last year, everybody was starting to say after a couple bad races, oh, man, the 48 ain't as good as they used to be. And then they'd go out and kick everybody's butt in Vegas.
They do that. They have a tendency to you push them in a corner and they come back out double good. But I think when you look at this, I think this was disappointing for Chad because I think those guys identified. We heard it from Jimmy early in Daytona. We heard it from Chad, how hard they had worked on the weak links of the team, what they conceived to be the weak links in the team. And the pit crew was one of them. They felt like they'd worked really hard, and then they come here and they have a hiccup again. And I know Chad will be on that all week this week.
You know, but one thing we've seen today from Hendrick Motorsports is they finished 1st, 3rd, 10, and 13. So, I mean, that's an incredibly good message for everybody in Hendrick Motorsports. You know, Daytona, it's like Kyle Petty says, it's the Daytona 500 Championship. It's 1 week, and it's a race you put to the side. This week is a message sent and a shot heard across the bow of the NASCAR garage area that Hendrick is back and they're strong.
You want to know some impressive numbers about Hendrick Motorsports?
Tell me, please.
I will give you some impressive numbers about Hendrick Motorsports. This is the 9th win for them here at the Phoenix International Raceway and the 195th win for Hendrick Motorsports in the Sprint Cup Series. That is a ton of wins. So I want to remind you also, coming up Saturday, the Rolex Sports Car Series thunders into South Florida for the second slam and race of the season. Here, fenders will bang, emotions will run high, and the push for the checkered flag will be intense. So don't miss the Rolex Sports Car Series live only on Speed at Saturday. Back with more in a moment.
NASCAR Victory Lane is fueled by Sunoco, the official fuel of NASCAR. Put the fuel of NASCAR in your car. Brought to you in high definition by Funai. Funai, fun and innovative. Experience more at FunaiAmerica.com. And by Hamburger Helper. 1 pound, 1 pan, 1 tasty meal.
If you want to know what's going on in the world of motorsports throughout the week, you better tune into the NASCAR Race Hub. Monday, a Phoenix recap and Austin Dillon. Tuesday, analysts Dillner, Dunlap, and Spencer in studio. Wednesday, we have our Hidden Hero Spotlight. And our old buddy Randy LaJoy. You definitely want to tune in that day. I'll be. And then crunching Las Vegas numbers on Thursday. Top 5 NASCAR moments from Las Vegas. Now let's take a look at where the 2010 Chase drivers are in points after Phoenix. And guys, it's probably never too early to start worrying about where you are in points because everybody always says, where are you in reference to the top 12?
Well, you look at Kevin Harvick. He finished 3rd last year. To the left, you see 22. That's where he's at in the points right now. But I do want to point this out. He finished 42nd in Daytona, finished 4th, and he was able to cut that in half. So it's still pretty difficult, Kyle, to dig yourself out of a hole.
Yeah, and I think with every race that we run, it's going to get more and more difficult because you've got these guys like Burton and those guys that are so far back because they've had 2 devastating runs. It's tough to go overcome because these guys now have 70 or 80 points, and now you're sitting back there with, 10 or 12 points. Doesn't sound like a lot, but percentage-wise, and we keep talking about percentages, the more you go up, the harder it gets.
It is not too early to worry about points, and I'll tell you why. We just heard in our interview with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy said, after Daytona, I knew I needed to get some points with this new point structure because once you're outside the top 20, it really drops down much harder than it ever has. So Jimmy said, I was going through the back straightaway trying to miss all these wrecks because I knew I needed to get some points today. So points are a big story right now because, like Kyle taught us all on race day, Kyle, when you fall outside the top 20, really dumps down really bad.
And remember, Ryan Newman won this race last year. Jeff Gordon won it this year. If we had this new point system last year, Ryan Newman would have been in the chase by virtue of his win here. So wins are absolutely huge here, and you can ask Jeff Gordon about that. You can also ask Jeff Gordon about what happened last year in Las Vegas. It was one of those near misses for Jeff Gordon. It seemed to happen over and over and over. This time in Sin City, another beautiful picturesque track we're going to next week, and watch the battle between, at that point, point, there were 8 championships between those two guys.
Yeah, it was 4-time versus 4-time. 4-time champion Jeff Gordon against 4-time champion Jimmy Johnson. And I think they got mad at each other, Kyle.
I think this is where the rivalry a little bit started, because we saw them in Texas when they got into each other. But I'm telling you, Jeff had the perfect race, and when it come down to the end, the way the cautions failed, the way Chad's strategy worked out, he put Jimmy in position. And this was one of those first 2 or 3 races. We could have gotten to the 5th or 6th race, and Jeff Gordon could have been sitting there with 3 or 4 wins. But instead of him, it was the 48 team of Jimmy Johnson sitting there with 3 or 4 wins.
And the funniest quote I'll never forget, there's Jeff Gordon, one of the greatest drivers of all time, and he's saying, looks like 4-time got a little mad at me. Jeff Gordon's a 4-time champion, but Jeff was calling Jimmy Johnson 4-time champion.
So it doesn't matter. Last year we saw it doesn't matter if it's your teammate or your rival or whoever. We had great headbutting going on and off the track, and we hope to see a lot more of that this year.
I think this Have At It Boys is into its 2nd year, and they're going pretty wild. We've seen that today, Kyle. They was wrecking everything.
But you know, I think we went to Daytona and we saw a different type of race, and it ended up being a pretty good race, but a really good finish. Come here today, I thought we saw really good constant racing all day long. There was great racing for 4th or 5th and all that stuff, and then you have a different winner. Vegas, I'm looking forward to it.
And we expect nothing less than that when it comes to going to Vegas next week. We are fired up about that, and we got you covered all weekend long on Speed. They'll put you in the middle of the action from Las Vegas. Tune in as Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, and Carl Edwards tighten their belts and hit the track for Sprint Cup practice and qualifying. Coverage from Las Vegas begins Friday at noon, live on Speed. Congratulations to Jeff Gordon. Be sure to tune into the Hub. We'll see you later.